and we're trying to move it obviously as fast as we can, but obviously can't rush it. So once we got that all going, we'll be having a proposal going forward to try to get some funds going for that, and we'll have more details when that comes. But it'll be related around the stuff we've already been doing inside of the alpha.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. In terms of path to monetization, as Stags alluded, we will probably have a meeting just with a focus group to get together a community proposal regarding monetization. Um, we're literally almost there, I think, but just need to cross that final hurdle. And in terms of the mod proposal, I need to I need to probably draft this, and that's on me. So I'll get that done as soon as possible. There we go.
All right. I think we're going over to are we doing work pod status? Sorry, no, DAO balance sheet.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Mr. Convoy. Monsieur Convoy.
All right. Well, last week was our payments, so end of the month. So this week there are no new payments going out from the DAO wallet. And so same old for this week. Yeah. All right.
Are we
We
doing?
can
Yeah. Sorry, are we just going from the balance sheet right here, or did you want to go through?
Let's let
all,
Fire talk
Okay.
through. Yeah. Thanks.
all up to you. Where do we want to go?
You're next. Go for it.
All right. Next slide.
Alrighty.
All right. So, as you can tell, if anybody's hopped into the AI bot channel, I've been nerding out on Midjourney. Spent my whole day while I was babysitting on the couch, trying to figure out how to prompt stuff out of it. So a lot of fun. Trying to figure out, honestly, like any tool, how can it actually be used and applied, especially in regards to graphics, images, things that we can use from video education standpoint. Definitely a lot to be learned there. And I'm struggling sometimes because getting it to make something that's really beautiful and amazing is easy, but getting it to make something that's a beautiful and amazing but also falls into a rigid set of parameters that fits what you need it to do, your vision of it, is much more difficult than just getting something pretty out of it. So I put this together. This is a shield for the new Yoko Tenkai faction, and this is like a combination of about 4 different images and a little bit of Photoshop magic. So I was real happy with it. I think it can do a lot for us. I don't know exactly what its limitations will be, but keep pressing forward on these tools to help us look more polished and get more out of our time. Also been working to utilize a lot more of the ChatGPT and the OpenAI playground as well, finding it valuable for things like quick grammar correction, professionalism, rewriting things for me, course structure, other stuff like that. So enjoying that, and I think it's gonna help us produce once again higher efficiencies, right? So especially like structuring course layout and things like that. We're still working on the business plan, so it's coming along. We had a great education meeting today. Some new ideas that hadn't really been integrated in what I've written up so far, so I'll get those added, and then probably I don't know, over the next week or so, get some time with Metal. I think maybe look over it and help me refine it so that we can get something clean and ready to go. Core focus is revenue generation. So course planning, revenue generation is really what we're talking about, what we're focusing on. Working on plans and ideas on how we can either create courses to generate cash flow or other ideas, whatever they may be, that are actionable, with the focus on getting something out the door as quickly as we can that's going to be cash positive. So in addition to in-house content, we talked today about some interesting ideas with Chang around potentially doing something on the affiliate or revenue share type of side. Just, when you think about it, if we're going to create a course and it's going to take some time to create a nice polished course that we can sell to make good revenue off of, and that's fine, and we can do that, and we will. However, if we could in parallel find some opportunities to generate revenue share or affiliate revenue from selling courses that already exist out there in the world, then potentially we could also do that and drive revenues in our direction without having to produce all of the content, especially until we develop a library of courses that is fairly broad. It'd be nice to start with more courses than what we can have out the door. So that is the so the motto I'm working on, I think, for the Yoko Tenkai is that little haiku at the top. So it's infinite wisdom with Yoko Tenkai faction. Success will be yours. So when you're ready to shoot me your NFT numbers that you own, just let me know. We're gonna get a list going, and we'll move everybody over to Yoko Tenkai. So just let me know when you want to do that. Cool. That's all I got.
Alrighty, dude. Yeah, as I said, it's super dope. Is orange gonna be your color?
It is, I was thinking I work at AT&T, and so blue is our color, and I love blue, but it was taken, and I thought, you know what, with Monkz, like orange is a fantastic color, right? The orange robes and stuff. And then it doesn't hurt that I'm near San Francisco. I'm not really a big Giants fan or anything, but it certainly doesn't hurt that it's the same colors as our local baseball team. So I'll take that as a peripheral win.
All right, orange
So,
it is.
yep.
Alrighty,
Very nice. All right.
cracking over,
So
Mr. Middle Hydra.
awesome, guys. So I'm just been working to put some financial reporting systems in place for us. So just bear with me; these will iterate over time. But this is our budget versus actuals for the month of February 2023. So as you can see, I'm just going to really quickly run through the variances in budget. So the first one is we had a budget for $5,000 worth of dev costs. Our dev engagement is paused at the moment whilst we develop out requirements for both the website build and what that's going to look like, as well as Ascension. So there's a $5,000 effectively retained in our treasury. Company secretary and supervisor costs being $250 and $500 rather, were not expensed this month, and they probably won't be for the rest of the year. It's likely we'll follow a different and less complex path for initial incorporation. And Eli and I will advise you of what we think that will look like over the next week or so. Outside of that, there were final payments made to both Henry and Julo, totaling up to 2,200 in USD. If we move to the next slide, please.
There we are.
Cool. So
You
this
see it? Okay.
spreadsheet attempts, and it's said first version of it, but it really attempts to figure out predict what our treasury balance is going to be at the end of the year. So it starts from February and it ends in December. A means actuals, B means budget. So we've got a treasury walkthrough. So expenses, and the expenses are directly from the previous spreadsheet, and how they're calculated is using the USD value of expenditure and converting that into ETH at the payments rate. So the payments rate, just for clarity, is the rate which Mr. Fire Convoy notifies me that our monthly staff payments have been converted at. So, and that's done through the approval process when Squabber, PJ, and Fire process expenses in the what's that wallet thing? It's just in the safe.
Gnosis. Yeah, it's in the Gnosis safe contract. Yep.
Total mental blank. So effectively, what this kind of assumes at the moment is that ETH will sit around the 1,596.75. So 1 ETH is that in US dollar rate for the year. I'll be running a couple of scenarios with a severe decline in ETH's value to the US dollar, and a severe increase in ETH's value to the US dollar. So we can kind of see where our treasury balance will go in both scenarios. This kind of forecasting is important so we know, one, how much money we need to put aside for the ongoing operations of our business, how much money we need to put aside for reserves, and what money we have to play with for things like investing, new projects that may come up, and etc. So hopefully this is helpful, and I'll work to refine this over time. Thank you.
All right. That's it. That's all we got.
Do we want to
Alright.
go over the Treasury proposal, or?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I got it on. Oh, hold on. Actually, I think I have it on this screen. Give me 1 sec. Is this it? Expansion? Yeah, treasury management, right?
Yes, sir. Do you
Okay, let
want
me
me to
go
read
off of
it out,
suggesting.
or do you want me to read it out, or?
I can read it, or do you want to read it? I don't
Oh, I
mind
can.
reading it. Okay, I'll follow
Okay.
along. I shall
So-
navigate.
Okay, so really, this proposal is about the DAO seeking to actively manage its treasury by setting in place a policy. The goal is to fund development, attract new members and contributors, and grow the DAO's network and purpose. The DAO treasury is a vehicle to express the DAO's values and increase its longevity, right? Today, we have 3 wallets which are listed there. So a treasury wallet, a royalty funds wallet, and a deployer wallet. The use of these wallets is set out in the table, as well as the wallet ID. The total balance in these wallets as of the 6th of March is 149.28 ETH. Okay, that's what our treasury looks like today. If we go down, PJ, please. Okay, so this is the kind of the meat. So principles of treasury management, right? So we want to have, and it's proposed rather, that we want to have a treasury that's structured to enable an infinite time horizon, so that we can run this business for as long as we want to, and treat it like a company. So companies, if you know about setup of those, they run infinitely. We want to ensure that inflows exceed outflows. So you would have seen a lot of conversation in the server about monetizing our DAO. Well, at the end of the day, the end result of income coming in is a positive treasury balance, right? We want to ensure that treasury allocations are diversified so that we can fund critical expenses to the DAO. And we want to be able to then grow the protocol and fund public goods. So we need to have a sound financial management approach. The treasury needs to become a strategic asset for the DAO that allows us to grow. So whether that's to invest in new businesses, to invest in people in the team who are running new businesses, to fund wages of people, to invest in stuff that's cool through the next bull, we need to be thinking about that. And please stop me if there are any questions, guys. In terms of the functions of the DAO treasury, there are 4 of them. So I'll go through them in order here. So spending is to ensure that DAO funds are spent in an appropriate manner that rewards existing contributors and attracts the right set of new people to further the DAO. The spending function ensures that we're spending on stuff that is only approved through a DAO proposal, that is agreed through the expense budget of the DAO. And the third category is that the expense is for the furtherance of the DAO, its operating activities, and/or to increase its treasury in the medium term. The second function of the DAO is about asset allocation. So asset allocation is really to ensure a couple of things. So the first thing is diversification. So we want to make sure that we have a mix of low risk and high risk assets, and low returns and high returns, so that we have a diversified portfolio in our treasury. Having it sitting in Ethereum is great, but as you kind of saw, like, the 100 and something ETH that we now have in the treasury was worth a ton more in the height of the bull when we made it. And unfortunately, without a treasury policy at that time, we are in the position now where we've got about 200K worth of funds. I think outside of that, and there's a mix of assets contemplated in here, and we'll get to that a bit later. But I think the last bit is the Treasury's role is also to manage the distribution and allocation of chi and any associated token reserves. So, like, what our emissions schedule looks like, who gets what in chi, if we have any advisors, do they get any of that? Like, what that kind of thing looks like, and that will happen over time as we plan to release that token. The third function of the Treasury is borrowing. Now, where we are at, I don't see any need for us to borrow, so we'll kind of leave that there. If at a later stage that becomes necessary, we'll deal with it then. And lastly, reporting. So the DAO needs to really maintain transparency over its Treasury holdings, its runway. So like we went through in the slide before, and what its reserves look like. We need to ensure that we're managing costs and expenditure in line with, budgets, purpose, being in line with what the DAO needs to be, and limiting expenses where possible. We need to manage the risks inherent in our Treasury balance. So perhaps leaving it in ETH isn't necessarily the best solution. And we need to make sure that DAO assets, whether that's, $50 that is given to someone to pay for an expense, or $5,000 that's gone into purchase a debt box, or some other thing, maybe we've invested some money. Each of those is transparently reported to the DAO, and we can track, who has custody of those assets, what it looks like at each time, and make sure that everything is protected for our members. Okay. One last thing. So, as appropriate, the DAO is going to have, treasury managers, right? And those treasury managers, if we go up, please, PJ. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I skipped that part. Okay, yeah. Sorry, it was the last paragraph.
You're
My
up.
bad.
Well, I think just wanted to call this out, right? So if you have a particular investment proposition for the DAO, so whether that's the debt boxes like Bud put up, or Bud's also having a look at an alpha proposal. Basil, you've also talked about NFTs. There are a whole plethora of things. People will need to look after those particular strategies on behalf of the DAO, and they will be suitably qualified treasury managers. With each proposal that comes up, we need to formulate the role of those treasury managers and how they're going to protect those assets, what strategy they're going to operate in when trading those assets, and what reporting and transparency they're going to provide to the DAO. So there are opportunities to do work here, and if you have a good idea, please, there's a whole group of keepers, please socialize it with us. But the goal is to have people help out in this area. So we can go down now. That's cool, PJ.
Going. Yep, it's moving.
Okay.
Sorry.
So this next bit, so currently, right, as I said, we've got 149 ETH sitting in our treasury, and that's it. Plus, we've got the debt boxes that we purchased earlier. I guess going forward, what do we want to do? Is that the most efficient use of our funds? This is a proposal to suggest another way of doing it, and this is totally up for debate and discussion, and I'm actually not putting this proposal forward for approval this week. It's more for a keeper's discussion whilst we sort out this. My proposal here is that we retain about 50% of the current treasury, which is about 74 ETH, to cover current year operating expenses, which are in our budget, which has been approved.
Do we want to convert that, or do we just hold on to it as separate?
Do you want to add that comment into the doco, someone,
Yep.
please?
Yep. No, I'll do it. I'll do it.
We'll nut that
Oh,
out.
I'm on. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
I guess that was kind of the idea of doing most of this, but yeah, let me go back to suggesting real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that again comes down to how much risk you want around that balance, and that comes down to the risk tolerance in that column. So very low, right? If our risk tolerance about that's very low, well, maybe we shouldn't hold it in ETH. But if
sorry
then
guys,
there's which is like, well, if we think ETH's going to go up, well, then we should probably hold that in ETH. So it's really a bit of a cat and mouse game, and something we need to discuss as a team.
If only there was a guy in this group who did trading all day long. Just kidding, but that's a poke at you, dude. All right, let's see here. Okay, do we want to convert to stable coins for a portion of this. Consider using MakerDAO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is a contingency funding. So this is like our in case there's something like a crisis that impacts the DAO, or really just to have a contingency. So those rainy day funds. The proposal is to have 20% of the treasury allocated to USDC. Now, as I said, this is a very low risk position, and this is totally up for debate too. But that's the logic. So this is over and above the operational ETH balance. It's actually part of the net treasury that remains after all of our expenses in the current year are paid. The next component is ETH earning. So it's a residual treasury. So after we've taken the operational ETH balance, the contingency balance, what's left is 37.41 ETH, which I'm proposing we do something with. There's a couple of options. One, we could put it into a validator node. The other bit is we could slice off portions of it and invest in prominent L1s or L2s. We could do various things with that. So again, that is up for discussion. And what we do with it. My proposal again, I really want you guys to look at the risk, the risk tolerance in this. Is it low? Is it medium? Is it high? What do we want to do as a group with this balance of funds? And last but not least, we've got available for investment. So we've obviously seen that Bud has some plans for Alpha. Basil, you socialized a proposal around NFT trading. I would propose that we put up a portion of the treasury to a high risk strategy, like one of those. What does it look like? And I think
It's 80 ETH. Yeah, it comes out to 80 ETH value.
Yeah,
5% higher. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, I think the rest of this proposal, frankly, is non-sexy risk management stuff. I think it might be actually a bit more beneficial, everyone, if we just open up
Here.
and see what people's feedback is around this bit of the treasury. And so over to you guys.
So there's two ways to look at this that we ought to consider. The first is price certainty, and the second is speculative benefit, right? I think for operational ETH balances, what may make sense is for us to maybe draw against the funds in something like stable coins without selling the ETH. That way we're protected on the upside, but it kind of sucks on the downside if everything goes to shit. But it does mean that it is, we only take out what we spend, basically. Does that make sense? And you don't pay interest on it until you actually close the position. So it is possible, if we're making profit, we can keep recollateralizing that position, or just close it eventually. So so price certainty. I don't know, just speaking from my personal opinion, when you have operational costs and a runway, it's I lean more towards price certainty than I do speculative risk.
Anyone else?
I think it just removes the stress from people who are
If we're
working.
considering like staking ETH earning residual treasury, that's like staking ETH. Is that right?
That's right.
So, I mean, obviously, we're gonna, until things are unlocked, right? I don't know that we want to like trap our money into staking. Until we know we can get in and out of staking, even though I fully back and support staking and I personally stake some ETH. But with that nuance as well, like once you can get in and out of staking positions, we have enough ETH to run our own validator. Is that what we're considering? And if so, why would we keep any ETH in non-staked positions when we could just unstake what we need for billing each month and maximize our quote passive income off of staked ETH, and as long as we're a well-behaved validator, the risk is as long as you don't, as long as we're okay with ETH going up and down, the risk of actually losing our ETH that's staked is extremely minute.
Can I not only do I kind of let me back up. We were actually going to do that originally with Lido staked ETH, and then take that and put it and borrow against the staked ETH, which earns income against the borrow rate from MakerDAO. Does that make sense? So whatever you're borrowing against your MakerDAO position, the staked ETH is replenishing some of that, just a little bit less, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it actually covers a lot of the cost. But the problem was, who remembers when Lido had a run on the bank? You don't know what's going to happen. You open yourself up to additional systemic risk. There was a run on Lido. I forget which. I think it was when Celsius went out. They took down a bunch of. Was it Celsius? I don't remember. So it was pretty nasty. Not a lot of people lost a lot, but it did prove that the liquidity issue for staked ETH caused ETH to fall in price like drastically. So yeah, you're gonna be hitting that either way, but I think that would be a smart strategy.
It
I mean, if we
need to
stake our
spread it
own
out.
ETH, right? Like self-custody, stake our own, have our own validator. We have enough ETH.
Yeah, I really
It's only
like
32 ETH
the
per stake.
validator. Yeah, exactly. When I saw that number pop up, the 37, and the first thing I thought was validator node, because you could run your own.
Strategic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it probably was. Yeah, that was like the first thing to come to my mind when I saw that number. Like, what do you do if you have 37 ETH? You start a validator node and you start collecting some fees on it. What Firecon
And
brought
maybe
up
we could
originally,
stake
though,
our
is-
ETH on it too, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could make a Monkz node.
Yeah.
That's
I love
actually,
that idea.
Yeah. Once mine unlocks, I could stake mine on it. If we staked, I mean, the DAO could take a little cut or whatever, right? And we could stake our ETH on our own validator node. Why is Coinbase or whoever taking a chunk of that money? It should be going to Monkz.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The reason that a lot of this stuff never happened is because we had, so many issues to overcome, and just the overall market. I couldn't bear like additional risk, exposing, everybody to this shit, like showing people Uniswap and then everybody apes in the stuff, and it's like crazy. But I'm interested to hear though, the high risk stuff. 8 ETH is, I mean, that's not a lot, but that is enough to really get started. Do we want to talk about like how we want to kind of guide the rule set for that? And we probably need a timeline by which we plan on actually endowing that, right? Is that over the period of the year, or?
That's a really good question, man. So this policy and proposal is meant to be an overarching proposal.
Okay.
The next down is then on a case-by-case basis for each of these items. We submit another proposal. We nominate an investment manager who is the lead for that activity. And that person helps and coordinates the process to get that proposal up and then operations. So this is basically the framework, then implement underneath that.
Okay. All right. So who's gonna do the proposal for validator nodes?
Happy to help write it, but I would like someone who's a bit more tradey than me to run that. So it's just not my, if I can do it, but I'd prefer to have someone else, if that's okay.
Anybody want to help? Come on, people.
Nominate Dizzy.
Yeah, we could probably figure it out. Me and Dizzy.
Yeah, I nominate Dizzy.
Basil and Dizzy?
Please.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
And I also like the idea of the Monkz contributing and staking into the same thing as well. If that was available to be built, that's cool.
Okay. How much more do we got? I know the rest of this document, but when do we want to go through the rest of this stuff?
Look, I can skip through it now if you want me to.
I think it's best to go through it. I mean, we're gonna put all this out. We might as well try to hurry. I mean, I got time if you guys got time. Anybody? Anybody want to negate or?
Okay,
No?
I'll go for it, guys. So, treasury
Yeah, let's
risk
do it.
management is obviously important, right?
Okay.
We need to, I think broadly, right, how people manage risks is to identify them, analyze their root cause and impacts, treat them, and then monitor them. So, what this serves to do, this document, is then to go into each of the main risks that could impact the treasury and how we would mitigate those and manage them. So the first is liquidity risk. So obviously, we need to be able to pay our bills. We also have a budget that we've committed to that we need to make happen. So in terms of managing liquidity risk, it's basically the treasury forecast that I created, right? So weekly review of treasury balances, monthly cash forecasting, weekly treasury cash recons. So I think outside of that, we need a free cash balance, and that's why I proposed the 20%.
Yeah, sorry. Which section? You're on the liquidity risk section right here, right?
Yes, I am.
Sorry, I lost you. Okay.
It's all good. Okay. So then we've got price and market risk, so stuff that you guys are probably very aware of. So crypto is volatile. How do we protect the value in our treasury so that we don't have another 700K to 200K moment for the Dow? And I'm not poking fingers at anyone, but it's really about how do we diversify it so that we are exposed to price risk where we want to be, and that we have control over the funds that we actually need to run our business, and always have that available at all times. Clear? We'll do credit risk now.
It's going.
Good. So credit risk is interesting. So we're exposed to that if we are exposed to counterparties. So this could be a staking counterparty. This could be someone or some DAO or some investment that we choose to invest in. This could be an NFT project that we decide to back. This credit risk requires due diligence. It requires a review of who's running projects, what their roadmaps look like, what their financials look like before the DAO makes an investment. And that decision needs to be made in line with the DAO's risk tolerance. So if we have a very high risk tolerance and we have an NFT trading strategy and we just want to execute it, and we know we've got a good inkling that something's going to go up because of technical analysis, etc., we may not want to do a full due diligence in that instance. But there should at least still be some due diligence done on project founders, how they've gone on their roadmap and stuff, just like people would be running due diligence over whether they wanted to buy a crypto monk or not.
Is anybody here familiar with CVAR? Hydra, you probably are, right? Credit value at risk?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry. I had to ask. Sorry, guys.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
So it's effectively using modeling techniques to predict risk exposures. Okay.
Yep.
Operational risk. So operational risk is all the unsexy stuff. So it's like passwords, using Gnosis Safe, making sure you're not going to be scammed, making sure you're keeping your software updated, etc. Right. So it's all the control stuff that needs to happen, right? If you're holding money from the DAO, you're not going to hold it in a hot wallet. Okay. If we go down, PJ.
Yeah, give me 1 second. My thing is not moving right now.
All good.
Oh, there it goes. Oh.
Whoa, shenanigans. Okay, so
yeah, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, it just took a second for my screen to catch up.
Okay. All right. So these steps really outline what due diligence could look like if we were to do it for an investment. So define our investment objective, define opportunities, so identify who we could invest in, do some research, evaluate their financials, do due diligence on the owners and the business, assess their credit worthiness and how likely they are to default or rug, and then monitor the investment regularly. Okay, so that's what due diligence looks like in a snapshot. And this, as I said, this is an overriding policy. So each proposal that sits underneath from an investment perspective should consider each of those elements of due diligence. The last bit is security of assets and associated controls. So these are all things that you guys are aware of. So whether it's using cold wallets, using reputable wallet providers, storing your seed phrases, multi-factor authentication, password security, backups, etc. All of the stuff that you guys do for your own self-custody, the DAO needs to do the same. So this is really a checklist of what the DAO should be doing from a controls perspective. If you guys are handling the DAO's money at all, treat it like your own money, apply the same security that you would, and then we will all be happy and well and have a successful investment strategy. And PJ, I think, if you just scroll down a little bit, I think that's pretty much the end of the document. There we go. Okay, so that's a treasury policy. Said overriding looks after everything. We can go into a bit more of a discussion now, but I'm going to throw it over to everyone for Q&A or whatever we'd like to do. Thanks for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, dude. I think, yeah, Eli's question was, do you deem this to be a low, medium risk strategy leveraging a staked position? So it's not so much the fact that, I guess it's just because it's systemic and because it's still decentralized, there is like an inherent risk to it, regardless of how good the idea of the protocol is. It comes down to there's always a possibility of human error or code issue. So that is always you're going to face that vector twice as often if you have two protocols. The first one being the staking, and then the second one being the leverage position, right? So yeah, it does increase the risk. I think it puts it up to a medium risk grade. But to be honest, it actually works. Like the Lido protocol didn't fail. It just had issues recovering liquidity, and that was because of how it was structured. It couldn't do stuff fast enough for Celsius to catch up. And who was it? Three Arrows Capital, I think, was the other one that really came in hard on that. So it does increase risk, but if you look at it from a financial perspective, the method of doing that is actually considered to be more. It just reduces the overall cost, I guess. You're going to reduce it significantly. I would say probably upwards of 30-40%. Then again, if the market goes down, it could be really bad. So yeah, you end up losing an additional 15% against it. So just me even having to explain it, obviously you can tell it's more complicated. So yeah, it does increase the risk. But then again, it also depends, and we should determine that risk tolerant zone is based on medium risk. So it still fits in the threshold. Is anybody a part of any other validator groups? There's a shit ton, dude. Yeah, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Yeah, there's a fucking grip. Does anybody remember when we had Roman in here from Oasis? And what he was saying about US, like how they do stable coins? Does anybody remember that? Roman was the Ukrainian kid that worked at Oasis and MakerDAO. Anyways, yeah, the idea was he could take, if you had stable coins, what they would allow you to do is leverage 50x on your stable coins in order to go make stable coin markets. So it's 50x leverage. Yeah, we don't want to do that here, but you get the point. And it's all, yeah, that whole thing is decentralized. I see both you guys typing. I figure these are questions. So 50x too much, 39x. Okay. Yeah, I mean, fuck, if you're did anybody here trade on Bitfinex when they have yeah, I think even Binance has 100x, right? Don't they? Bitfinex had a 100x product. And they had it on ETH and they had it on Bitcoin. Basil, were you trying to say something? Sorry, I saw your mic came off. Oh, can't hear you. Yeah. Okay.
Is that any better?
Yeah, much better. There you are.
I was just gonna say we always a fan of, maybe not going 50x leverage, but 39x seems conservative. So 45, that feels like a good number.
Good number. Just like hit it right in the middle.
Yeah. Give the people what they want.
Fuck. Give the people what they want. Are you not entertained? No. Dope. Have you guys? Hey. Okay. So we got a motion to pass this, right? So we got in keepers. Do we need votes? Which parts do we want to vote on initially, Mr. Hydra?
So I'd kind of like to leave it up in keepers for a couple of days just to get and feedback on stuff that should be revised or have more consideration in the proposal. Then
Okay.
Get it into keepers. So let's just say, it's Monday today. Let's leave it open until Wednesday. On Wednesday, let's do a keepers vote and then get it up, over Friday or something like that, if that works.
Okay. So then, do we want? Yeah, we can get it up. We can review it one more time next week because this is kind of a big one too.
Yeah, and let's once we get this out of the way, we can start getting into the exciting stuff, which is actually figuring out where we're going to invest the funds and get some stuff moving forward. That really excites me the most, to be honest. This boring.
Yes. Okay. All right. Dope. All right.
I'd be interested in hearing what the community feels like. Like, do they want to be more aggressive with funds? Do they want to be more conservative? Like, how should we be structuring DAO? Like, I like this as like a general framework, and I think it's like good and kosher. It's probably too conservative for people who want to be riskier. It's probably too risky for people who want to be like super conservative. But I'm just wondering what people's general thoughts are on like the allocation here and where they want it.
So what you want me to scroll back up to the risk?
Yeah,
tolerance right here. Okay.
Basically the percentages.
This one right here.
Yeah,
right here.
Category.
Yeah, here we go.
Correct.
On it. So we have operational ETH balance retained in DAO Treasury wallet, very low risk tolerance at 50%, which is 74.01 ETH. Hydra, you put up a survey?
Can get a survey put up if that makes the data collection easier. But let's just have a general discussion now, but more than happy to put a survey up if data to back the decision. That's fine.
Okay, USDC contingency proposal regarding investment to be submitted, very low, 20%, which is 29.86 ETH. ETH earning residual treasury proposal regarding investment to be submitted, low to medium, 25%, which is 37.41 ETH. Available for investment. Proposal regarding investment to be submitted. High. The risk tolerance is high. And it is 5%, a total value of 80. So, Basil, did you want me to give you my opinion on that?
Sure. All
Did we
go ahead.
submit any sort of NFT counter strategy yet?
I made a proposal, but we didn't. Based on the what people were valuing as like important on the survey that Hydra did, I just figured like let's hold back on that because it didn't seem like it was that important from like an NFT investment. But yeah, I put together a proposal, but don't need to move forward on it until we figure out where we want to, structure and how we want that to look.
Yeah. And then Bud, how far are you on yours? You have another one, right, coming up? Or was it just in mention, in passing? Is he there?
Yeah, I believe Bud was planning on doing a structure where we would use like DAO assets to get a prop fund and then trade through that. But I don't know where he was at in the proposal, or I think there was something he was adjusting.
Yeah. So what? And I don't know if Bud's on, and I don't want to necessarily talk for people, but where it kind of landed. So a provider was chosen. There was a testing period that was being conducted to see the viability of the provider, what margins look like, what profitability look like, so we could have a trading history to kind of prove the strategy out. Unfortunately, that provider was deemed unsuccessful, so we've now moved to another provider, and I believe Bud is now running a strategy with that prop firm to see if they're a viable contender.
Yeah, you guys able to hear me?
Yep, there you are.
I don't know how long it'll take exactly because I mean it's live trading environments, but just moving as fast as we can, and we're about as we sit right now, we're about 70% passed through phase one on a prop firm, and then there's a phase two, and have to see from that point. The passing the phase challenges their demo accounts. If you guys don't know, demo accounts they don't have the same slippage, they don't have the same margins as a live account. So we got to really see the live account and see how those work. So that's what I'm trying to get to, and then from there we oversee, if it's something that we feel comfortable moving forward with, and if not, look at other alternatives from that point. But as far as time wise, I don't know how long that'll be because I don't know. I mean, if I got to dictate it, I mean we'd already be done with it. We would already passed it all. But sadly, we don't get to dictate that. It's live market. So
yeah. 6-month plan. Otherwise, business is in danger zone. 6 months hence. What am I missing? Yeah, it depends on how quick we are able to move, and it also depends if our costs continue where they are. And that's 6 months of operation. So yeah, it doesn't really get risky until the end of the year. But then again, hopefully there's some kind of replenishment in that. And also, we're not burning our full budget right now either. So just keep that in mind. So it's good. This gives us some runway. Any other questions, guys? There's Basil. So much easier if you guys just talk. Ultimately, we do. Yeah, we do have to make money. 100%. But we also, it's not just like we have to be real world make money, like not just speculative crypto money. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, there's obviously like a time and a place for, because speculative is only as speculative as, I guess, the person doing it.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right strategy in place, then stuff that one person might consider speculative might not be so speculative. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we're not over leveraging because that's ultimately what caused so many like lending platforms and protocols to just go belly up, as we've seen, is they've just over leveraged and gotten over speculative, and then had investments turn south on them, and because they were margined or whatever, or leveraged like the 50x. When you have investments that you're leveraging turn south on you, then a margin call happens, and your investment that was originally on margin is no longer worth the margin call, and you're in a real bad spot.
Yeah, you got fucking sunk. Yeah, you're done. You're toast.
So I think it's like a healthy balance that we're wanting to figure out here, is like giving us a appropriate amount of runway to let our like business and revenue generation potential, like maybe longer term plays play out, and give them some time to be marketable and to start gaining some traction, and then also to have enough go towards some of the more speculative plays to where we have opportunity to maybe grow at a faster clip than you could in a staked ETH scenario.
So kind of wondering too, like what happens if well, I guess now these risk tolerances are really good. So I guess I'm coming back to Eli's question, which is about the runway on a 6-month plan versus a 10-month plan. First off, yeah, okay, so okay, capital raise is the first one, which I was gonna say, like we can try to do some like predominant capital raises. It's super fucking hard right now. Not gonna lie, money is probably the hardest thing to come by in a capital raise right now, unless it's coming from like China. But if there's a way to do 60 to 80 ETH without giving up equity, it should be considered. 6-month to 8-month, 10-month goes quick. Further to basal cows to basal, we need time for investment to mature. 100%. Yeah, and that time does go quick as fuck. So what we need to do is we need to be very, very selective about how we want to approach, and we got to be quick too about which products we want to go after initially and how much we're going to spend doing it and how much we can contribute to each one of them. Right. Yeah, fuck. Let me see. 10 months goes quick. Yeah, 6, 8, 10 months goes quick. It does. But that's also considering that we have those additional resources available for making capital. So we have to consider that. I think the risk ratios are correct. Like, I think those risk tolerances seem pretty correct. I don't know about how you guys feel. I mean, we could go like ultra conservative and then just say, you know, hard cost, and then everything there is like just donated time and effort. But I think people would get sick of that really, really quick.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think ultimately we need people actively working on something to develop that like minimal viable product that's going to actually be the thing that draws people in when markets do turn around. Maybe that's sooner, like my optimistic ass. Maybe that's later, like some of y'all pessimistic Bitcoin having BS. But
Yeah. Well, we have some other marketing costs that aren't on here, aren't really included, or I guess we bake the marketing into the cost of overall exposure for certain things. I'm just trying to think. Okay, Dude on Internet says 100x leverage for DAO funds. Don't know if it's weed talking, but let's fucking go. Convoy. Dude, homie just fell in love with fucking Generative
Hey,
AI.
hey,
That shit is so sick, dude.
doesn't
I'm
that dude
telling
on the screen look like the guy from that 80s movie that you know what I'm talking about?
Which one? Is it
All the kids,
oh, the kid, the one with Eddie Murphy? What's that movie
hey
called?
you guys.
Uh,
Goonies.
Goonies, huh?
Goonies.
Yeah,
That's
Goonies.
the dude from Goonies on the screen, suggesting 100x leverage, man, right there.
Fucking A. Why is he looking at a picture of himself on the screen? Fucking classic. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Sloth is the guy. That's what Sloth looks like on the screen or whatever.
Yeah. He's the one
First
giving the
ever
advice.
MySpace Twitch stream.
Double or nothing. Dude, I like Squaba's got balls, dude. Squaba wants to go next level. Hey, so side note real quick, I hate to be so serious, but do we have Mr. Squaba? Are you there?
Yes.
Did we mint your monk as a keeper?
Not yet. I don't think.
And we
But
didn't
I
get
don't
your
have.
eternal.
I need to pick one.
I thought you had one.
Oh, I have the monk that got turned into a like a monk with fangs from Mecha Chaotic.
Okay. Did we get any artwork or anything?
No, I didn't. I need to work on it. I need to.
Oh, okay.
I need to source some artwork. Or
See
I
Cloud in
may
here.
just. I like the ones that are different colors, like Sub-Zero, but not Sub-Zero. So if there's any of the Mortal Kombat ones left, I might take it.
Did you see Tacos?
Yeah, he got Ermac.
Is that what that character was called? Ermet? The
Yeah,
orange.
There's a
it's a
better
funny story
version
because
with a taco
like
on that as a hat.
Does
so it's
anybody?
a funny
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the
it's
taco
a
on the
funny
fucking
story
hat.
behind that because like it was actually like a piece of code that like signified something and people were like, oh, it's a hidden character, and so people tried for like years to unlock it, and finally Mortal Kombat said, well, it wasn't a character, but hell yeah, we'll make it a character. So then they made a red one of those called Ermac or something similar.
Does anybody remember Noob Cybot? Does
I
anybody
remember
remember that one?
Cyrax.
Cyrax, Smoke. Well, Noob Cybot was the
Smoke was my
original
favorite.
black character. Yeah. Noob Cybot was but that's Boone and Tobias. It's the last name of the creators of Mortal Kombat. That's what he was named after. Yeah, it's Boone and Tobias, if I remember correctly, which is hilarious.
I just loved all of Smoke's finishing moves and the fact that when the when the voice said smoke, it was like smoke. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Raiden was bad as fuck. Dude, yeah, so many great
Raiden's pretty
characters.
bad.
Dude, Mortal Kombat 2 was what did it for me on those types of fighting games. Like
Definitely.
I didn't like any of the there you go. Yeah, there's Taco right there. That's fucking hilarious. But yeah, I didn't like Street Fighter nearly as much as I like Mortal Kombat. It was way doper. All right, anyways, just FYI, Squabs, the keepers is on the contract. Just a heads up. Yeah,
Killer
so we
Instinct's the best one.
Killer Instinct
Beats all of the fighters. Yeah, it's the
Fuck,
best.
how do I remember Killer Instinct? I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Fulgor is the robot, and then you got the skeleton. You got the Nighthawk, who's, and then you got it's Combo Breaker. It's got the best voice actor and all of whatever. It's Glacius too is one of the characters.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, Killer Instinct.
Cinder.
I remember this one.
Yeah, Cinder.
Yeah, Cinder. Yeah. Gargos.
I can hear.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Ultra Combo. Yeah.
Riptor, Saber Wolf, Snaria. What was the one that was all the dinosaurs? Do you guys remember that one?
Oh yeah, like it was set on Earth, like
something
URTH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
what was
monkey would
it?
like fart on people.
Yeah, and you got a
Yes.
raptor that would pee on people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was in all the arcades.
What was that one?
I don't remember the name, man. That was awesome though.
Primal Instinct? Is it something like that, or
That might
it's
be
probably
it.
name,
I miss arcades, man.
probably
Arcades
name
are
of a
fun.
porno,
No.
huh? Or
Right.
Primal Rage, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
No. Is it Primal Rage? No. Oh yeah, it is Primal Rage. Yes, it is.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
fuck yeah,
find a
dude.
GIF
Holy
for it.
shit. Dude, I totally forgot about this.
They don't even
The
have a
arcades
GIF
were
for
so
it.
much
It's so
fun.
old.
My parents would just
Right
leave
there.
me there.
My
I'd like stay
parents
there
just
all day.
leave me there. Fuck.
Well, you could use those old school like golf tokens that people would like mark their ball with to like it
Mhm.
would trigger the quarter, but it would spit it out, so you could play as much as you want.
Just keep running that same plastic ball marker.
Yeah, man. That's right.
Yeah, there it is right there. Primal Rage, dude. That game was actually pretty sick. I remember the graphics on it looked dope. They're bad.
It's the
Yeah, that's
dopest Sega game.
All right, I'm gonna kill my screen so I can look at stuff. Let's see
Big
here.
boobs.
Pig boobs. All right.